Hi, I just thought I'd show you a couple of simple cards this morning. One for an absolute beginner who doesn't have a lot of tools, and then one for somebody who's venturing into die cutting. So I'm going to use the Dandelion Wishes stamp set. Really simple. I'm just going to use black ink, black memento, a white card, and one other colour. Doesn't really matter which other colour you pick. I've happened to pick Seaside Spray, but any colour card that you fancy. Okay, so for my first card then, this is Absolute Beginner. I have a white card. This is what we call A6 inside. In size, you can just buy these. So A6, this is standard card making size, but essentially it's a single piece of A4 cut in half and then folded to make a standard card size. Okay, you could make an A5 card, which would just be a piece of A4 folded in half, and this design would work on it as well. Okay, so I've got this piece of card. I've then taken another piece of white card and I've cut this down in size to 3.5 inches. Sorry, 3.5 inches by 5 inches. Okay. It doesn't really matter the exact measurements, but if you can just see, it's just a bit smaller than my main card. Okay, and then I've cut a piece of coloured card. So in this case it was Seaside Spray, and that's 3 3/4 and 5 1/4, so it's literally 1/8 of an inch bigger all the way around. And then that will fit on here like so. Okay, so that's the first card. So I'm just going to put everything to the side apart from my single layer of card. So this is Whisper White. It's the thin Stampin' Up card. It's got a really nice kind of smooth finish. It doesn't absorb ink too much. Okay. So the first thing I need to do is I need to get this. This is called a stamping block. Okay, they come in different sizes. So, and they have these Stampin' Up ones, have like a groove around the side. I don't know if you can see that. There you go. So they're quite nice and easy to hold. And then out of the Dandelion Wishes set, I'm going to get this one with the 3 dandelion heads on. So I'm going to take that out. I've already put the sticky back on. I've shown you how to do that in another video. So that goes onto my stamping block. Make sure it's on. And then I want a Memento black ink pad. So if you're only going to buy one ink pad, I suggest you buy a Memento ink pad. Okay, this is a nice black ink pad. So you take the top off the ink pad, you leave the stamp on the desk, and then you tap, don't press, you tap really lightly, so it might take 20 taps until the ink pad is covered. Now you need to work relatively quickly. If you wait too long and you kind of go for a cup of tea now, then that black ink will dry. Okay, so you pick that up, you hold it above, directly above where you want to stamp, and then you place it on the white card. Press down evenly, don't rock, just press down evenly all over and lift it up. It might not work every single time, you might not get a perfect image, but at the end of the day it's just a piece of white card, so it doesn't matter. You can always practice on a bit of paper. So I've stamped that at the top. Okay, so what I want now is I want a sentiment lower down to fill in that space. So I've got sending well wishes your way, I could use, or I could use I made a wish and you came true. So I'm going to go with the get well one. So again, I'm going to stick that onto a block. Make sure it's on, exact same ink pad, exact same technique. There are lots of ink pads out there. If I was just starting out, I strongly suggest keeping it really simple. Okay, and then just line that up where I want it to be. It needs to be straight because you don't want a wonky sentiment. Stamp it down. There we go. So that now is my image. There we go. So you can see that really well. That will be wet for a second, so don't rub your fingers all over it. And then what I'm going to do, really simply, is I'm going to stick that on here. Okay, so onto the coloured background. Now you can do this in several ways. To keep it simple, you can just glue it. You can use adhesive that's 3-dimensional, like foam. That's absolutely fine, but if you don't have it, keep it simple. I would suggest if you're only going to buy one glue, buy some liquid multi-glue. And then all you need to do is gently squeeze and do very, very small amounts. So it's very similar to a PVA glue. The difference with this and a lot of PVA type glues is that it won't make your paper go all wrinkly. So it is worth investing in decent products, even if you don't get a lot of them to start off with. The good thing about a liquid glue is that when you put that down, you have a little second or two just to wriggle it around in case it's not straight. So that is perfectly lined up in the middle there. Again, you could put some foam adhesive on the back of this to make it 3-dimensional, but you don't have to. One problem with putting loads of foam adhesive on to make it 3-dimensional is that it then costs more to post it, so sometimes it's not always the best idea. So I'm just going to line that up. Whoops, there you go, you see, got a bit of wiggle room. Line that up on my card. It's probably a bit low actually, that. Just rub that bit of glue off that's squidging out the bottom. There we go, and that would be a very simple card. And you could repeat that time and time again. And if I just show you from this one stamp set, you've got a Get Well, you've got a Lifetime of Love of Happiness sentiment, which is great for weddings. You've got I Made a Wish and You Came True, which could be for babies, or you know, a card to a husband or wife. You've got one big dandelion clock with the little bits coming off, the seeds coming off. You've got a group of 3 that I've used, and then you've got these little separate ones. So that is a super simple card. If you think, oh yeah, I'm a bit beyond that, I'm a bit better than that, I have a slightly more challenging version. So if I just leave that over here, actually I'm going to move it because I'll get ink on it. I'll bring it back in at the end. So this time I've cut out 2 layers, almost identical in size to the last one, but this time I've used some stitch rectangle dies. So these go through a die cutting machine, which is quite a big investment, but if you've got one, it's worth using it. And I don't know if you can just see around the edges here. You just see, so it gives a little stitched edge when you cut it out. So I've done a white one, and I've done the Seaside Spray, the blue one, just the same as last time, same proportions, one bigger than the other. Okay, I'm going to use the exact same stamps, exact same technique, exact same ink. I'm just going to stamp on top of this one. I'm going to pop this on here, hope I get it straight. There we go. Perfect. Then the sentiment, I'm keeping the same sentiment, so everything's very similar, so you can compare them. Pop that on there. There we go. Okay, so really, really similar. I'm going to bring in my blue piece of card, which we would call a mat. Just a layer. Put glue on just in the same way, so swirly whirlies. Okay. I'd pop that on here. So I'm still not using a foam adhesive on this one at the moment. Okay. There we go. Right, so at this stage, I'm just going to add a little bit more that I've done on the other one. So I'm going to use this pen, which is called a Wink of Stella. So it's pre-filled with shimmery paint, essentially, but it's see-through. You just squeeze it very gently. It actually has the word written on push. You can just about see that. It says actually push on the side there. So you give that a little squeeze, only a very gentle squeeze, that moves from the ink out. And then I'm going to pick up my image, and I'm actually just going to pop on here, I don't know if you can just about see it, some little, can you see them appearing? Some little sparkly bits on here. Not a lot. Okay, the Memento ink pad will move. It's soluble in this, so if I start doing too much, I'm just going to get a grey black splodge everywhere. But if I just dab it on gently like this, can you see that now? don't know if that's showing up, but it's just a tiny bit of shimmer. So I'm just going to carry on putting that on all over on all my seed heads. Okay, notice I'm dabbing it so I don't move the ink around. Okay, just put a bit down the stem just to zhuzh it up, and I'm actually going to go over the word well like that, and wishes. And because it's see-through, it doesn't matter if it's not super duper neat, just like a shiny accent over the top. So if I just tip that, you might just about see a little bit of shimmer. Okay, so that's a bit of jazzing up we've done. And then I'm also just going to grab my embellishments. There's all kinds of different embellishments, but a real classic is just the rhinestones. So these are like little tiny diamonds. So all you need to do, there are loads of tools that can help you get these off. You could use your nails if you have long nails. But to be perfectly honest, something like a pair of scissors will work. So if I grab a pair of scissors, I'll keep it simple. So got a big one there. So I'm just going to lift that up onto the edge of my scissors, and I'm actually going to pop that in the middle of there. And then these two are a tiny bit smaller. So I'll use a tiny bit smaller gem on those. Okay, so there we go. And if I just show you, hopefully you can see. There you go. So we've just got 2 little diamonds on there. Sorry, 3 little diamonds, can't count. Put all my gems to one side. And then on this particular card, I'm actually going to use some 3D adhesive. So this is some 3D adhesive. They come as little hexagons. They are very, very sticky. I always say you can buy cheaper foam adhesive. You can even buy it from pound shops. It kind of does the job if you want to save money. I'm not going to criticise you, but in my experience, it does perish. So if you can have your card, if you keep a card in a drawer for a few months, 12 months or something, keep a card in a drawer before you send it, then sometimes things can start falling apart. I'm going to take my card, I'm going to take my image, I'm going to put it on top, and there we go. So just to show you them, this is my finished one here. So to show you them side by side, they look really, really similar. Just zoom in a tiny bit, there we go. So they do look really, really similar. This is my absolute super simple beginner one. Just some stamping, glue to layer it up. This one's slightly more advanced. We've used some die cutting, we've used the Wink of Stella, and we've used some embellishments. But they're both lovely, both really, really simple, and you could make these ones very, very quickly. To be fair, these ones wouldn't take you a very long time, but these ones you could make really, really quickly. And with the stamp, you could do lots of different variations. If you want to know any more details, then just drop me a message and I'll send you the link to the products. Thanks for watching.